Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And up next, this will be the equivalent of when you turn on the dial for the Academy Awards. The first trophy they hand out is Best Picture. We're going to go live to Saratoga. Two guests today, Mike Jones with an interesting invention, and the great Angel Cordero Jr.
And welcome to Saratoga. Thank you very much, gentlemen, down in Schenectady, Anthony and James. We have got a couple of very special guests for you today. A very interesting new technology, and racing has been a little bit slow, I dare say, to embrace certain technologies up until really the last year or two. So we have got a real treat for you this morning here in Saratoga. I would like to introduce a pair of gentlemen that one very well known to you, the other maybe a little bit less so, but you'll be hearing a lot more about him very, very soon. Immediately to my right is Michael Jones. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. It's good to have you here. And of course, at the far end of the table, a man who needs very little introduction here in Saratoga. Welcome, Angel Cordero. It's great to have you here.
Glad to be here.
And the reason we're here talking about what we've got for you today, and again, technology a little slow in the racing game, but Michael, you have developed something that I think is really interesting and that may change the game rather dramatically. We have on the table here a little camera, little device there, and mounted atop a jockey's helmet. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to come up with the JonesCAM and what you think that what you think are some of the best applications.
Well, the whole application itself from my side of the business and the industries we're in started off in the ski industry, ironically, which is something that I've been involved with since I was 17, being a professional and being a coach. And knowing that the application of what people like, many people, but especially people like Angel, who's been with me now for, what, 6 years we've been working on this. The ability to bring a different perspective to the racing. We all know what the stationary cams are. We know that the tracking and the phenomenal footage that we see from them, how great that is. But with the ability to use POV, which is something that's expected in the industry. I don't care if it's NASCAR, I don't care if it's a reality TV show, or if it's like what we do on the movie set. The ability to see what that individual is doing from their idea, their perspective, their eye, is what jockey cams and helmet cams are all about. And 15 years ago, we started in the industry. 6 years ago, we presented it with Angel and other trainers and owners that have embellished this because they understand the opportunity to change some of the dynamics of the sport and make it more entertaining. So now the individual is able to see what it looks like to be on a horse in the throes of the actual race, and it's pretty exciting.
It most certainly is, and of course, and I'm sure Angel will attest to this, although you did it, certainly your fair share of winning. There are always those days when something happened out there, and I had no horse, or I couldn't get through, or the hole closed up too quickly, or something like that. Yet there's always somebody on the sidelines screaming at you because they held a ticket on that horse. Angel, tell us a little bit from the jockey's perspective about some of the applications and how those riders will feel, that what they're really seeing out there. And of course, until you've done it, you just don't know. I ride horses, but I don't ride these horses. I'm not riding 40 miles an hour in those kind of pressure situations.
All I can see is this. You are going to be the closest that you ever could be on a horse race. This is the real happening. No the film that I take that you have to develop them later and watch, which they have great cameras and a great thing, but to get part of the action when things is happening is very rare to us. We never encountered that. And when he first came to the idea, I thought it was a great idea to have something that is show what's happening at that time. A great idea for the lab, for the trainer to see what happened, for the public to see what happened. The steward know what happened, they got their own film. But the public sometimes don't get to see the film, don't get to see why my horse is back, how can he don't get through. Yeah. When you have this camera, you could see what's going on front, on the back, and on the side, when it's happening, which is, to me, is amazing. I rode for 30-some years, and when he came out with that idea, to me, it was like the lights up, and I said, wow, that's gotta be great,
It just is amazing to me because, as I said, technology and horse racing have been not so close together. I mean, it was in the 1940s, really, that the racetrack started using the video system, and that the stewards started using video as a means of adjudicating disputes on the racetrack and so forth. But really, since then, and that's 60-some years now, really nothing much has changed. And I think that a technology like this really can change the way the sport is understood by fans, by stewards, by other people that are out there. You know, if you can see on a camera mounted on a rider's helmet that, you know, that a rider, for example, we were talking before, you know, is trying to avert something, or maybe not so much trying to avert it. Are you working with racing associations here in New York and elsewhere to try and make this a daily event?
As I said, 6 years ago we started this with both the stationary cameras, which are from the helmet cameras, which then at that time, Angel, when we first started, was a bullet camera that went down with a cable into a pack, and the presentation was made to the stewards, to the trainers, to the owners, and the concern was a valid one. It wasn't safe. Because, you know, if, God forsake, something were to happen, you've got a pack on your back. Whereas in the case with this equipment, you're talking about a whole nother direction as to what can happen. There isn't a potential of a problem because it's made to be able to come off if something goes wrong. And at the same time, it's an HD. So you have the ability to bring modern technology to the sport and at the same time energize the sport. And as I said earlier, people expect POV footage. They expect to see as much of what the action is as possible. And when you've got jockeys like him or the trainers that we're working with, you know, the jockeys, Javier and Johnny Velázquez, and the individuals that are involved with the associations, meaning the racing association itself, track owners, trainers, the Jockeys Association, you know, the meeting we had the other morning with Terry was very, very good. They're all understanding what the potential of this product is. They also understand what it's going to do for the sport, and it's going to change that. The dynamics are going to change immediately, and it's going to help people, and it's going to bring also the younger generation to the sport. It's entertainment, and it's also educational. And from a trainer's point, they can see what's going on out there. From a trainer's point in the morning, when we're doing the workouts, they can, you know, the trainer can send that to the owner and go, "This is what your horse looked like this morning," and they love it. They, you know, it's great.
I mean, I think it's terrific. I think the idea of being able to bring that kind of information out, and as you said, I mean, for example, you mentioned that you started in skiing last winter time. I was fortunate enough to be, wasn't anywhere near Vancouver, but I was in Canada during the Winter Olympics.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, if you're in Canada during the Winter Olympics, especially when they're in Canada, that's all there is to watch on television.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
for good reason.
And exactly, it was terrific. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I probably far more than I would have had I been at home, and it was great because they did have a lot of those types of point of view, the POV cameras. We, you know, I was able to watch, and my son is a skier. I was able to watch a lot of that kind of stuff, and it is great that you'll be able to see that. I think young people will really love it, and you know, a new generation of racing fans will be able to take advantage.
Very important. We all know that we've got to do something to move this ahead, and there's several ways of doing it. And because of the younger generation is so attuned to technology, you know, I mean, let's be real about what we're dealing with. They will, and not just the younger generation, but the general racing public will, they're going to love it, and it speaks for itself.
I certainly agree. Angel, tell us a little bit. I mean, you're the man that was out there every day for many years riding, and you still, to the best of my knowledge, you still get on horses in the morning?
I was to last year.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we tried this at the beginning, and when we first met him, like he said, it was a big camera and it was a risk. It was a little extra weight. Some of the guys was worried about what will happen if I go down in a race, which is usually the worry of any jockey. But we have, when he came out with this idea, we have the fortune and the misfortune to try the camera. And Gary was with me that morning, Gary Steven, and he was on two babies, and we went to work together. And he had the camera with him, and he saw had a heart attack and dropped dead. And he went down, and you could see on the tape the momentum that he's going down, the roads he took, you could hear his voice, and nothing happened to the camera or to Gary. So that was a point that is safe, that if somebody, God forbid, go down, he might lose the camera, and the impact of the camera is not going to do any damage. but it is weird to know how close you are to a horse without being on a horse.
Yeah.
When he showed me the film, being that I'm a jockey, I'm over on it. So
Yeah,
I
you
see a different
understand.
way, yeah. But when you can see through the camera what's going on, you could even hear the horses breathing. You could hear the guys talking. You know, things that you don't see on the film.
Right.
On our film,
Yeah.
the way they are set up, beautiful for make a decision. They are good. There is no noise on it.
Yeah.
And there ain't nothing that can show you like being on a horse.
There,
When
yeah.
you're in the camera here, the whoever is watching is on the horse with you.
Yeah.
I think it's terrific.
I love the idea. When he came out with the idea, I loved it. And I said, you could make him smaller, and you could make it a little safer for an accident,
Yeah.
it will work. And like he said, he's been around for 6 years trying to do that. And little by little, we'll be coming into a point that is close to perfection. It is the closest you could get to a horse,
That's
and the
great.
closest you could get to an action in the race.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure a lot of our audience is too. We have been diligently trying to download some of your footage
Right.
onto one of our computers here at our set. So what we'll do is we'll pause for a brief message. When we return, you'll be able to take a look with us at this terrific footage from this JonesCAM, from Jonesy's Cam. I believe it's going to be Javier Castellano aboard on at least one of them. And one of the films is, I think, is going to be really great. It's going to actually be a backward-looking camera, which in a lot of cases is more interesting than watching the forward view. So we'll pause for a break, and we'll be back with Angel and Mike Jones. Welcome back to Saratoga. I'm Jean Wood, joined by Michael Jones and Angel Cordero. And we do have that video footage as promised. And what I'll do is we'll roll a little bit of the clips. But what I want to make sure I do is, Angel, I'll have you talk a little bit about it. Now, I know that this rear view clip, it was not on your helmet. But you've had the chance, I'm sure, to see it a couple of times. Tell us a little bit, as you're watching this, what it's like for a rider to actually be able to literally see what's happening behind them.
Well, you could watch behind and it would be like having a mirror, you know, a real mirror in the car. I don't think when the jockey's riding in the race is going to be able to look back, but the public will, and the trainers will, and the people will know what happened instead of you try to, you know, explain to them. They could see what happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're watching the race and you don't see the problem that happened because you're only watching the race, but when you're watching it with one of these cameras, it's just so close to them. It's like part of the event. It's like a you there. So it's no excuse that time, you know. You don't have to come up with an excuse. They have to see it like that.
Well, I think it might, and we're trying to get that. We did have a little difficulty getting it to begin the role to play, but you know, it's kind of interesting because obviously, you know, from a rider's point of view, Angel, you may be able to hear horses coming behind you, and I think a lot of the people don't realize that, you know, The riders are hollering at one another. Your guys are all out there talking amongst one another. But for the first time, be able to actually get off the horse and see that guy who came up and clipped heels with you, or to find out that the horse that caused a problem behind you, what really happened. As I said, we're still trying to get that the video to roll through our system. But tell us a little bit about how you think the stewards are going to respond to this sort of technology.
The stewards have their own film that they are going to decide about the race, about an inquiry or any infraction in the race. This will show is just what's happening at that time from the closest view. Yep. The camera from the store will catch the whole event and will catch certain angle, but like you see in there, you're going to be like on a horse, which is going to help them in the future to know after the film if you did it, if you could have helped the accident or not, which is the most important thing.
And now the stewards do actually, after, you know, whether or not they take action against a rider, there are times when the stewards go ahead afterwards and maybe decide to issue a punishment, a fine, or days of some sort of penalty. Typically, they go through it with the riders later on. Do you think this is the kind of technology that someday they'll be able to use so that jockey can say, hey, wait a minute, this is what happened out there, and actually show them?
Remember they will be able to hear our conversation when I say because I was a jockey, so I found myself still. So you will hear what's going on. You are always going to be a jockey. You're a jockey. You will hear what really happening. It's not like I could come back and say, they say, well, you got in Michael's way and you making check. And he said he yelled at you and you never did any effort. And my excuse would be I never heard him. With this, you want to be surprised about the answer that you're going to give the steward the next day. That's what I liked about it.
Angel's going to clean up the game now that he's not actually running.
I want everybody to
When we had the meeting, 4 or 5 years ago, we went together. We met with the stewards, we met with property owners, horse owners, we met with, the association members that we had to deal with. And the steward's comment was, this could definitely be an asset for what we do. And obviously from the aspects of what we're trying to do and the ability for their applications and the other ways that it can be used. But then the other side that's being presented, as we discussed earlier, is the ability for this to be played in between the races. Yeah. So everybody who's on track will have the opportunity to see what it looks like from that perspective between the races, and that's entertainment. Yeah, it's gonna be one of the things that's gonna change the dynamics, as I said before, of the sport. And we're excited about that because people are gonna look forward to seeing, okay, what was it like to squeeze that, and what was it like to drive for that? And it's good all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there are several races where particular trips that I remember thinking, wow, wouldn't it have been cool to really see, a horse, going between horses, maybe making one of those weaving moves that, that sometimes you'll see. And I can tell you right now, some of Angel's rides, although I'm sure he probably wouldn't have wanted to have a helmet cam. No. But some of Angel's rides probably would have been amazing, including a couple of rides where, you managed to just get there, a couple of sneaky inside moves and that kind of thing.
You know what I liked about it too? That you could hear the horses breathing.
Yeah.
The trainer will be able to hear his horse breathing. Oh, yeah. You come back sometime and you said to the trainer he was making ugly noise. Yeah. It's very hard to describe a noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you come back and he said, why did he run so bad? I said, he was running, but all of a sudden he started making noise. But you can't explain to him. You're not a doctor. You know something is wrong, but you don't know what's wrong. But you could hear him. So the same thing when a horse doesn't travel good. You're going to see on the camera when it's uneven. It's like driving a car with a flat tire. So you're going to be able to see things that they don't get to see on an everyday basis. And you're getting close to the athletes. How many sports you could get that emotion to be close to the athlete, like having a camera on the back when he's fighting and hear the punches, watching the football when they run into share. This thing is what interests the people that watch the sport.
He brought up something that we didn't discuss, and that is something that was brought up in the conversation the other day with Johnny and with Javier and Terry. Is the wireless application. We deal with wireless also, and that's part of the technology that we first started working with you and is now really advanced a lot. But it's going to get to the other side of what we're talking about. You'll be able to live hear the audio. You'll be able to hear the breathing. And this is, I'm speaking specifically from the training side of it. And we all know, everyone that's in the industry understands that what you learn from how that horse is breathing and what you're looking for is going to be something a trainer can hear right then.
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, and it's this big, and it's transmitted directly to them. So there's a lot of technology that we haven't talked about that we're bringing to the table, but this is the focus right now, to be able to bring the jockey cam to the industry, to be able to see it between the races, for the owners to see it, for the trainers to be involved. And everyone that's looked at this said it's good for the sport.
Excellent, and I certainly think it is, and I'm going to be following very closely and watching. I know, I'm sure I'll see you at the, around here on the backstretch, and I'll be nagging you for how's things going, who have you talked to, and what's going on. But I really do appreciate both Jonesy, you come over, and of course Angel. I know you're always busy and in demand in the morning, but we certainly do appreciate it, and the efforts that you're putting out with getting the JonesCAM on there, out there on the helmets and on the riders.
Yeah.
And,
hopefully we'll go forward on our sport. We need to go forward. We need to get more people into it. And I think it's going to bring more people to the races to know what's going on now for real.
I certainly do. And one thing that is going on tonight, and I want to make mention of this, really nice event, and it's something that, one of the many really cool events that happen around here tonight, New York All-Star Charity Basketball Game, the Jockeys versus the Horsemen. Now, I understand that the center is actually going to be two jockeys standing on top of one another wearing one uniform.
That is
who are you going to have?
I'm supposed to coach basketball, but I don't know much about basketball. Well, I was thinking about who's going to be the center, because we all little.
Ramon's the tallest guy you've got, right?
Yeah, I guess so. We're just going to have to let them get the ball. I'm trying to take them out. I think at the end the jockeys probably are feeder. I think the trainer will probably predominate for the first half of the game, and then when they get tired, the jockeys will take over.
The jockeys can all go the two turns. That's tonight at the Saratoga Rec Center and on Vanderbilt Avenue. It's a $15 donation, and the funds go to the Racetrack Chaplaincy, which is a terrific, terrific organization. They're all across the country, but I know that the guys here on track on the NYRA Chaplaincy do a terrific job with a lot of the backstretch people, and so it's for a great cause. So it's the jockeys versus the horsemen, and Angel's going to be coaching the jockeys, so make sure you come on out tonight at 7 o'clock at the Saratoga Rec Center. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming over. We really do appreciate it, and appreciate you bringing the technology out to the racetrack.
I hope it works for everybody. We're looking forward.
We're looking forward to seeing more of it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And we are going to head back to Schenectady. We'll toss it to James and Anthony back in the studio with more Capital Sports Talk.
And thank you very much, Mike Jones and Angel Cordero Jr. And a couple things out of that. ESPN had JockeyCAM about 20 years ago out at Big Hollywood Park race late in the season. And I tell you one thing I walked away from it was, I'm not being a jockey under any circumstances. I mean, you talk about being put in tight quarters at somewhere between 35 and 40 miles per hour. No, that's not for me. And as with technology, sounds like Michael Jones has improved the product, etc. My only question would be, they got a little windshield wiper on there to keep it clean, etc. But you will get a bird's eye look and to see how tight. And one of my favorite things is listening to the jockeys yell, whether they have a situation brewing or getting out sometimes a little too blue, but great angle, gets you right into it, and you realize I'm not doing it for a living. It's very tough. Sometimes I accuse those who are doing it for a living, maybe they should do a better job of it, but it can be a very precarious situation. It looks like they're going to get it.
I think it's going to be good, and I think Mike Jones touched on something that Anthony I thought was really important. Is I think there is some entertainment value there, because I think people are going to be able to see some things. They're going to get a different perspective. Sometimes, hey, what happened with my horse there at the top of the stretch? What was going on? Well, you're going to, they're going to show different angles, and if they can incorporate that into the daily.
Hey, I just got cut off.
I just got cut off. Yes, you did. Well, now you're going to be able to see it. I think, be able to show a couple. They show the winning ride, then maybe show one of the favorites that maybe, okay, ran into some traffic. Okay, this situation happened, or you can see that he's going to the whip. Nothing's happening. All those things that happen in each race, and especially in an inquiry situation, I think that's going to be very, very important. So if this comes in and this is adopted in the near future, I think it's a very good thing for racing all the way around.
And having Angel Cordero Jr. there tying it in, we had Bob Duncan on. Jeff called it a spot early in the meet right off the rip about the starting gate and getting horses ready for their first race from behind the scenes and some work they have to do once they get started in their career. Well, the most famous Bob Duncan moment, maybe the most famous assistant starter moment in the history of horse racing, involved the guy on the far left of your television screen, the 1978 Jockey Club Gold Cup, supposed to be the rematch after Steve Coughlin thought that he just got skunked by Angel Cordero when he was on Affirmed and Cordero was on Seattle Slew. So now they come for the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Lasborough gets an entry made for Affirmed, and the Slew breaks through the gate before the race, and there's a very young assistant starter, CBS, horse racing big in those days. Bob Duncan holding on to Seattle Slew for his life, did a great job, because a lot of times, obviously the safety of the jockey, the horse, the assistant trainer, but the horse could lose the race. But Bob Duncan saved Seattle Slew, got him back around the gate pretty quickly, put him inside for one of the great races of all time. A very young Bob Duncan, and probably the most famous moment of any assistant starter in the history of it. Angel Cordero having a chance to win the Jockey Club Gold. The other famous moment for assistant starters, Saratoga, 30 summers ago, coming up on the 30th anniversary, a New York bred named Fiorito, supposed to have no chance. First time the Whitneys won as a grade 1. The big gray from Finger Lakes comes in with Les Hewitt, breaks through the gate, runs about 30 yards down the road, and you see the assistant starter holding on for dear life, gets them back in the thing. They spring the latch in the Whitney, big name outfits, big name. Fiorito never draws an anxious moment, makes every pole a winning one, gets anxious late, but the Finger Lakes guy won the first grade 1 Whitney ever. Those are the most famous two assistant starters. What?
I was there that day.
I was there that day.
That was a great day.
Winter's Tale and others. I was like, a Finger Lakes horse wins. We're picking Finger Lakes outfits today, but it could be very entertaining. My one thought for Michael Jones would be, where was the disconnect between about 92, 93, because the product looked about the same size. I think they might have put it on the left or the right-hand side. I think Pat Valenzuela wrote it. A lot of jockeys said no. I'm sure it's smaller today. Just look at computers from the 1960s.
That's the other thing. That was the big point of contention. Like when Mike said, they went to NYRA and said, look, we want to do this. Well, they had the wire, they had the wire, and that was, and then the pack, and that's you don't want packs flying off. You don't want them landing on it. If they go off a horse, I mean, geez, that could really be a bad situation. But just having it on top of the helmet with no wires, a wireless situation. You see this a lot in racing now. They have Formula One. They have those. They're very small. I don't really see anything from a technology standpoint that's going to hold this up. It's just getting them to agree to it, and once they do, I think it's going to take off.
Then they go to DirecTV, you get your own slot, like on NASCAR races. By the way, Junior's still not winning races, and he's got Watkins Glen coming up. He doesn't do too well there, but that would be fantastic. And Gene pointed out how slow we are to change in horse racing, and usually, that's kind of like a United States thing. In other racing jurisdictions, they've really moved on with the technology. I mean, I've been having a conversation for 20 years about getting chips in reins. I was telling James at one of the breaks that, in Japan, when you download the Japan Cup after it's run, you get the exact running time of each individual horse in hundredths of a second, as if it's the Olympic 100-meter dash. We were having these conversations 20 years ago at the Teller Theater, and I don't have to tell the folks out there how much computers have just changed really in about 7 or 8 years and where they'll be in 5 years, and we're still guessing. They put up the portable rails at Saratoga, which now both turf courses, and you can tell by Tom Durkin's not only his inflection in his voice, but some of the verbs he chooses to use. His famous line is, the first quarter is posted in, which is Tom's way, in my opinion, of divesting himself from the accuracy of that number. And that has been they hand-timed races for years on the inner turf course at Saratoga and many other racing jurisdictions. And I am just amazed that we can get the man to the moon, but we can't get a mile and 16 with the rails up at 9 furlongs. Not only timed accurately for all the splits, but the exact running time, and I mean, I haven't had the case made to me on other side, whether it's money or whatever, but I know one thing, in technology, the monies came down.
It doesn't seem like it should be that hard. It really should be that hard.
Maybe there's no energy to get there, but we talked about some of, I talked about some of the fractions reported on races that the rails were not up, which many of us who do this on about a daily basis kind of entrust when the rails aren't up on turf courses that the time is accurate. And we have a picture, we don't have it anymore, but we used to have a picture of a horse setting a track record at Saratoga on the turf, and I've always claimed that track records on the turf should only be eclipsed when there's no rails up. I don't know how fast Loire de Sanamo really ran that afternoon at Saratoga, but the technology, hopefully the United States will get there. I mean, it's been around a long time. In technology, something's around 2 years. That's a long time. I mean, there is a saying in the technology world, it's actually a rule of thumb or a law that either the technology doubles every 18 months or the price is half. It's one or the other. So it'll be fun. It'll be entertaining. It can only help, and you can, you hear the pounding, you hear the horses breathing, you hear the jockeys yelling, you see how tight the quarters are, and you begin to understand when you see horses that will run through spots, whether it's a horse and the hedge or the rail, he's got the one spot, or he's between horses in a certain spot, how much I love the horses that will run up through there, because like when you're in your car, you're going up the Northway, you have the middle lane, you have the inside, outside, a lot of drivers won't run up in there. All you got to do is hit the accelerator, so you're going to get a real view. It will be very entertaining, and like you said, where will the stewards go? You cut me off, what do you mean? Here's my little camera. Check it out. So hopefully Michael Jones and others, this technology, will get here a little bit quicker than the actual running time of each participant in the athletic event for the 20 years we've been talking about it. I think the technology is caught up. We'll be back.